Okay, so we went over exponential graphs in class today, and so what I want to show you is you do have that option right here to click for your notes in exponential functions, but you're going to notice in these notes that we applied them to real world problems. So there's no example where you see the graph going on to the left, just like your example in your review today. So right here, the y values began at positive 10 and went up, so we said it was greater than or equal to. Well, then down here, our y values begin at 250,000 and then it went up, so we said it was greater than or equal to 250,000. So your notes wouldn't be helpful for this type of problem. So what I did with the class is I went ahead and showed everybody, let me undo that, that if you, if you zoom into your picture, you're going to look at your x's and you're going to notice that it's going in both directions. It doesn't stop right here on the y-axis. So when you look at your x values, you want to trigger yourself to say, hey, if this graph is going in both directions and it has an arrow in both directions on my x's, then I want to recognize that my x values are not restricted. So right here, we would say our domain is all real numbers. Okay, but the range, however, there is a restriction on the range. So if you look at your graph here, it's going to look like it gets really, really close to that x-axis. It looks like it's almost touching it, right? So you don't want to say here that y is greater than or equal to 1 because that's not true. It's a little bit below 1. And you don't want to say y is greater than or equal to 0 either because you can't really tell if it ever touches the x-axis. So what I'm going to do for you is graph this in the calculator so you can check out those y values and we can describe what the range is. So f of x equals 2 exponent x. So if I go over here, remember that you can graph exactly the way it's written. F of x equals 2 exponent. You need to use your keyboard here at the bottom. Let me see here. So at the bottom, you need to find your, okay, so at the bottom where you see your keyboard, you're going to click your keyboard, and in order to put that exponent x, you have to use a exponent b. So x is the exponent, and then you press enter, and there's your graph. So if you notice this graph, and we move along this graph here, you're going to see those x values get really, really close to 0. They're at 0.09, 0.044, 0.23. So even if I pull up a table and look at those x values, those y values, try and identify what the range is, I can go to negative 100 on the x's, and you're going to see right here that this is a really small number. In scientific notation, that's a really small number. So when we go back to our, when we go back to our exponential graph, you're going to have to write the domain is going to be all real numbers, and your range is actually going to be y is greater than 0. It's not equal to, y is greater than 0. So range is going to be y is greater than 0, not equal to, and domain is going to be all real numbers. Okay?